Tila na ulit na bangungot ang pagkakalason sa lambanog ng ilang taga Laguna at Quezon. Ang ugat niyan, maling paggawa ng lambanog na naglalabas ng nakalalasong kemikal.
This news clip features the infamous killer lambanog that placed itself in the news bulletins, in which this was blamed as the reason on the deaths of several men in the Calabarzon region. The said killer lambanog was believed to be an effect of high methanol contents in the said drink, wherein it was seen that this was due to the improper distillation process. As a matter of fact, distillation is important to refine alcoholic drinks, which is a known method of separating mixtures. Let us explore the other methods of separating mixtures here on Science at Home. Hi everyone, welcome back to Science at Home, and for today we're going to be exploring the different methods and techniques in separating mixtures. Now, I want you to remember that in terms of separating mixture, you need to consider the different or the nature of the materials that comprises the mixtures itself. So let us begin. So we have first here, the sedimentation and the decantation process. So what happens in the sedimentation and the decantation process is that you have a mixture of a solid and a liquid in which the solid is insoluble to the liquid. So what happens is that the first thing you need to do is that you need to sedimentate it. So what happens in sedimentation is that you let the solid substance or the sediments to settle at the bottom of the container. Then it is followed by the decantation or the process in which the supernatant liquid is separated from the sediments itself. Now, decantation process can also be used in a mixture of liquids or two liquids in particular, which the one liquid is insoluble with the other. So a best example of this is the mixture of oil and water. Another method is the idea of filtration. But in this case, we use a specific material, maybe a filter paper, in terms of separating the solid components from the liquid components. So what happens right here is that, there is the idea of the residue and the filtrate. So the residue is a term that we use in order to describe the solid particles that were separated from the liquid, which is known as the filtrate. Now, filtration can also be used in many things, so especially in terms of preparing coffee, for example. So what happens is that the filter paper is used to separate the coffee grounds from the coffee itself. Another method of separating liquids is in terms of distillation, but this time, distillation is used for separating two liquids with a different boiling point. So what happens in this process is that heat is being utilized, and what happens is that the liquid with the lower boiling point tends to evaporate faster, and it is being separated from the liquid rather, with the higher boiling point. So this is best example used for the brewing of alcoholic beverages, so such as wine and other alcoholic drinks. Okay, another example is that the idea of magnetic separation. So from the name itself, so the term magnetic meaning it utilizes the use of a magnet. So simply because that it is used for separating solid mixtures with a different idea of magnetism. So meaning one part of the mixture is metal and the other is non-metal. So usually magnetic separation is being used in mining industries in which the metal ores are being separated from the non-metal ores. Okay, another method of separating mixtures is the idea of sieving. So in this case, so from the word itself, you use a sieve or a mesh strainer in order to separate solid components of different particle size. So usually this is used in baking. Fine flour are being separated from the granules itself. Okay, another method of separating mixtures is the idea of evaporation. To use heat, rather in order to evaporate liquids through high heat. So what happens right here is that usually evaporation is used for separating mixtures of or solutions in which it has a dissolved solid in it. So best example for it is the idea of separating salt from seawater. And another example is the sublimation, but this time instead of separating it from liquid to solid, this time it does not go under the solid or the liquid phase, rather it transform solid directly into a gas. Usually, this is used for fingerprinting purposes, in which it uses iodine crystals. And lastly, we have the idea of chromatography, in which chromatography a specific absorbent material in order to separate the components. Usually, this is done in the laboratory in separating pigments. Okay? And that's it. That concludes our episode for today. So, this has been your Sir Dave saying keep safe and always have fun learning science at home. Goodbye!